We're just going to be looking very briefly at 3D Studio Max and specifically how you bake out animation curves from 3D Studio Max for use in compositing tools such as Ions Fusion or the Foundry's Nuke. So let us begin by loading 3D Studio Max. Here we have a scene that I've already prepared. It's a very basic scene. It basically involves a rotation of a camera around a teapot, and you can see if we go ahead and call up the graph editor. If I just go to that here, and I select my camera, here is our curve here. Okay, so just a standard easy in, easy out F-curve on our rotations, on our positional data rather. Okay, so the way that you get this out is you have to what's called bake out the animation. Now if I just go to our dope sheet and I select our camera, you can see that we only have keys set. We only have our keys set here at frames 0, 50 and 100. And so what we basically need to do is we need to have keys set all the way down our timeline, very similar to the way motion capture works. So we basically need to have 3D Studio Max add a keyframe automatically at every single position along our timeline. And the way that I have done this in the past is to use a plugin which I have supplied on the CD, and that plugin is called Bake. So if I just call that up here, this was written by John Burnett, and it's quite old now, 2001. Okay, so this works okay. So the way it works is you select the camera or the object you want. You say that the start and end time is right, 100, and the number of frames, so it's every one frame. The thing that you're going to be baking is the object transformation, or the shape animation, or the mesh animation. So you set that to what you want, and then you set these to the in and out range, out of range in and out to what you want, and then you hit the bake button, and you can see what it's done here is now added a keyframe at every single position. So if I go back to our graph editor, you can see that that information is now in place. So that basically means now that our camera is now baked out. So now that's been done, and before we move on, this works for anything. So if you're dealing with the movement of an object, so in earlier Fusion lessons and Nuke lessons, we've looked at importing both camera and transformation data in. This is exactly the same way that we were able to do that. So you can bake out camera information, light information, positional information of objects, whatever you need. So once you've got that, you simply go to your export on your 3D Studio. You need to choose your ASCII scene export information. So here we can just pop it on the desktop, and we're going to call it we can just call it test for the time being, and then you set here what the output options are. So we're really interested in the transformation animation keys. This is the main thing we're interested in, and the animated camera and light settings. So we're just going to leave this as default, and I'm just going to hit OK, and that's now sorted. So that's how you get the baked or that's how you bake and then get that baked animation data out of 3D Studio Max. In this next lesson we're going to be looking at exporting a piece of geometry. So the way that we do that is you choose what piece of geometry you want to export. So I'm just going to make a straightforward teapot, and I'm just going to center that. Okay, so excuse me. Okay, there we go. Now what we're going to do now is, if you wanted to animate this, you could, and you would then need to export that animation out as a ASCII file using this ASCII ASCII file export for 3ds Max. That's if you've animated the position or rotation or scale data of this teapot. But if you simply want to get this teapot out as a 3D model, you export selection, and then you have various formats that you can use to bring into Fusion or into Nuke. They will read wavefront OBJ objects, which works very well for Nuke but not so well for Fusion. For Fusion I would recommend FBX. So if we looked at that one, for instance, I can just call this teapot and save. You have then a whole bunch of options that are going to come up. Just call it 01. Looking for. So you have a whole bunch of options that are going to come up here. I would just leave these as default and hit OK, and it tells you that it's done that. Okay, I'm just going to load Fusion now. Okay, so Fusion is now opened, so I'm just going to go to Tools, 3D, FBX Mesh. You can see here we have various types. There's our FBX and our OBJ. You could also use 3DS or DXF. And I'm going to navigate to my teapot and bring that in. And now you can see that that comes in straight away. It often comes in on its side out of 3ds Max, so you just want to set that to -90. And it's often very large, so you can just scale that down here at the control scale. And I'm just going to Control F just to zoom to my object. Okay, so there you have it. Now, if you had applied UV texture maps in 3ds Max to your teapot or your model, then those would remain when this comes into Fusion, which means that when you then applied a texture map to this input node, then they would remain faithful to the UV map setup. But I will let you look into that in 3ds Max. Okay, thank you very much.